again get all morally indignant in the direction of State Representative Darren Bailey from Southern Illinois, who you heard from on this show yesterday, who had successfully obtained a TRO in Clay County in Southern Illinois for himself specifically, a temporary restraining order that enjoins the state from enforcing their shutdown orders on him specifically.
Right.
With now that's being appealed by the governor because, as we discussed yesterday, their concern is that this will encourage others to do the same around the state, perhaps get a class together and actually plead, unlike Bailey did, plead for an injunction at the statewide level to enjoin the order statewide. And the governor responded to that.
We are making much of progress and much of the
Sorry about that. Hold on.
Well, it appears to me to be some partisan endeavor, and at a moment when, frankly, political parties shouldn't matter at all. We should be focused on simply doing what's best for our people, keeping them safe and healthy. But I don't know. Certainly people have the ability, anybody has the ability to go to court. But I know that we have appealed this ruling in.
Yeah, and they're going to go to court on Friday. But he wanted to remind people, because he's speaking down to all of us, that they don't have a lot of hospital beds in Darren's district.
The 109th district happens to have among the lowest hospital bed availability and ventilators in the state, making it uniquely ill-equipped to respond to a surge in cases. The district is also home to the county experiencing Illinois' highest death rate per capita from COVID-19. This ruling only applies to one person because it was only ever about one person. This was a cheap political stunt designed so that the representative can see his name in headlines, and unfortunately he has briefly been successful in that most callous of feats.
Really? He's selfish? This is just a political stunt, Dan?
Mass gathering is a liar. Straight up liar. Or he's a massive, and I mean massive, ignoramus. You pick.
Because Clay County is not, it's Jasper County, not Clay County that has the most cases per capita.
Clay County has, I'm looking at the New York Times, the Gray Lady, the paper of record. New York Times, Clay County has 2 cases and 0 deaths. The others I've seen as many as like 12 or 15 cases in Clay County. But this is the New York Times county by county breakup.
No, he was
2
lying.
cases, no deaths. Jasper County, since you just mentioned,
Yeah.
Jasper County, that is also untrue. Jasper County, New York Times, 44 cases, 3 deaths. That makes that makes it 31 per 100,000. Right. 44 cases and 3 deaths, and you're going to cherry pick the stats to say the highest death per capita in the county. It's just saying we had 1 case and we had 1 death. That's 100% fatality rate. That is junk calculation. That is purposely misleading. That is not how you do data analysis, and everyone knows that, or should if they graduated high school. It's disgusting.
It's
Physically,
disgusting
he's disgusting. His conduct is even more disgusting. And let me tell you something. When somebody has to make the kind of arguments he's making, what does that tell you about the underlying veracity of his position, the intellectual rigor of his argument? And let me tell you something else he said at that press conference with respect to his powers under the Illinois Emergency Act. Grants me the power to grants me the authority to issue this 30-day stay, this 30-day executive order, this executive order for a 30-day period, and then now I'm going to reissue another 30-day executive order consistent with my Emergency Act powers. Okay, so by that legal logic, you're saying you can just keep issuing rolling 30-day orders from now to rapture. That is clearly not what the statute intended. I bet if you went back to the 1970 Constitutional Convention, I haven't done it yet, but I bet you'll find the 30 days was specific with the idea that that would give the legislature time to convene and act legislatively while the 30-day clock ticked. It's not that he could just play this game of 30 days at a time, and 30 days, the next 30 days, the next 30 days, and it's just one-man rule as long as that one man does whatever he wants in 30-day increments. That is an asinine legal argument. There's no way that stands. This guy, this state. You want Alex Berenson,
Try not to pull my hair out.
Former New York Times reporter Alex Berenson tweeted out yesterday. Now, we've talked to him on this show about marijuana legalization. We're going to have him on Friday to talk about COVID-19 because he's been all over this. Not sure if Governor Pritzker or some other factor, but the tone of the emails I'm receiving from Illinois have a panic and anger that is sharper than anywhere else. Maybe it's more middle-class state than downstate New York or coastal California, so people feel their savings draining faster? ? And Berenson's, he's just skyrocketed in notoriety because of some of his investigative looks at the data that's being reported, matching it up with what politicians say versus what we're seeing on the ground all around the country. Here's 2 words to the wise for Alex Berenson. We'll have this discussion when we have him on the show. One is, the tenor of the emails, more panic and anger than anywhere else in the country from which he receives emails. One, savings draining faster. We already pay the highest combined state and local tax in the country,
right?
And we all know that's only going to increase coming out of this.
Yeah, and let's vote for the fair tax in November.
Pritzker's indicated as much.
Yeah, he's not taking it off the ballot.
Number 2, before COVID-19. 50% of Illinois residents wanted to leave, according to the Paul Simon Public Policy Institute at SIU. 50% of Illinoisans want to leave. The greatest percentage of residents who want to leave their state of residence in the country by a wide margin, almost double the next highest state, which I believe was Connecticut. Half the state wanted to leave before all this. Where do you think we are now, enduring all this? Well, Darren Bailey, despite the rebuke he's received from the governor, has inspired others to follow suit, literally. And the next one up is State Representative John Cabello out Rockford Way, and he's also a police officer. Representative Cabello, thanks so much for joining us. Appreciate it.
Hey, thanks for having me.
So tell us, it's interesting because you had some mayors out in your district that were saying, hey, Governor Pritzker, let us do our own thing here where we can manage our own affairs. So give us the authority to tailor your orders that fit our community. And of course, that was not acquiesced to. And then the Tribune opined in Governor Pritzker's favor because I don't know why, because they're engaged in junk science and terrible data analysis and a misunderstanding of the law too. But that's okay. So there was an effort made. There was an overture, and that overture was not received. So now the step that you're taking.
Yeah, I mean, obviously what we're trying to do is see what one branch of government is trying to force all the other branches of government to do along with the people in the state. I don't think what he's doing is constitutional. Speaker Madigan, like you were talking about earlier for the 70 Constitution Convention, came up with all these rules, but he's mum. He's not saying one word. Convene the legislature. Let's see what's going on. There's a lot of people that are afraid to go down there. If you don't want to go down there, resign. Let's get people that want to do the work of the people and get this state moving again.
Go birthday boy.
So with respect to the complaint that you're going to file, you're seeking a TRO. Is it going to be a la Darren Bailey, just for you to continue to sort of build precedent and momentum, or what exactly is the relief you're going to seek?
No, mine is different, and we wanted to. I don't want it just for me. I want it for everybody in this state that wants it, because you know what? If this does take effect, you still don't have to leave your house if you don't want to. Nobody's going to force you.
Yep.
But you're being forced to stay home now. So let's have some balance here.
So is it a class action lawsuit that you're going to be filing?
Yes, ma'am. That is exactly what we're going to be doing.
And so again, you're filing a class action suit. So who's the class?
Everybody in the state of Illinois.
Oh,
but
Don't you need our
but
consent?
but you're the well, but you're the singular plaintiff, right?
Well, I sent you a photo of what exactly we were going to be filing. So it does state that John Cabello is the individual in his individual capacity and on behalf of all citizens of the state of Illinois. So it is myself, but everyone else.
Okay, and okay, so you're the singular plaintiff, and then and you're seeking because I'm looking at it now, but I can't read it all the way down. So you're looking for is this in Winnebago County? Is that where it's going to be filed?
We are filing in Winnebago County, yes.
So you're asking a Winnebago County judge to enjoin the governor's executive order statewide. That's what you're seeking.
Absolutely.
Well, so John, tell us what life is like in Rockford. How many cases you have? How many deaths? And how frustrated the people of Rockford are.
Well, we're trying to get a handle on it, because we have lots of folks that are being listed as dying of COVID-19 that were in hospice care that are listed as COVID-19 deaths, but no one can prove to us that is what caused their death. So the numbers that are being reported right now are under question. The numbers
even if you go by New York Times, Winnebago County, 365 cases, 14 deaths. That's 5 deaths per 100,000. That's 1/3 of the national influenza death rate per 100,000 on an annual basis. I mean, just going by those numbers, and there are other numbers because reporting happens quicker to some outlets versus others. I understand that, but that gives you a ballpark of what's happening in Winnebago County, of course, which is Rockford in part. And so based on that, based on this not being anything you could argue is sort of a hot spot, and as long as, and I assume the mayors had talked to medical professionals, and you probably have too, the hospitals in the community, say as long as they're not feeling overwhelmed or feel they will be overwhelmed if you begin some sort of partial reopening, then what are we talking about here?
Exactly, and that's what we want to start having the conversation on. Why is this governor telling us that by us filing a lawsuit to see what he is doing is constitutional, is endangering people and it is the worst thing in the world? Well, I would submit to you that we were not the ones that released 64 murderers early out of prison upon the citizens that are paying for everything.
Yeah, talk about that a little bit as a law enforcement professional, in addition to being a state rep, and also because one of the Rockford news stations covered it because I referenced their report on it. But some of the violent criminals that have been released in Rockford.
Oh, and all across this state. This governor didn't even have the common decency of notifying the victims' families that the murderers were being released. So in my opinion, these families have now been victimized twice. But also, he's not following the law because the law says that before these prisoners are released, these families must be notified. So this governor is picking and choosing which laws he wants to follow.
Yep. If he even knows what laws he's doing. But how does that make your job?
He's actually more like a dictator than he is a governor.
Okay, that's a fair assessment on your part. So how hard, as a law enforcement officer, how much more difficult is this to do your job then? Are you surveilling their houses? Are you making sure they're not going to commit other crimes?
Well, unfortunately, no. And, it's the parole officers that have that job. But if you look at the amount of parole officers that are in the state and you look at the amount of people that are on parole, and you could just take the intensive probation people, they don't have enough people to watch these folks. So you are ordered to stay in your house. You're not to leave unless there is something you really have to go do. You have to get your food, go see the doctor. But we're going to let these violent murderers and criminals out, and we're not going to see what they're doing. They have free reign.
Mm-hmm. He is State Representative John Cabello. The filing for the TRO will happen this morning, John. Is that right?
Absolutely. We're looking at hopefully before noon. I do have a conference call with my attorney later on this morning to make sure.
All right, and then probably at today's press conference, you'll be excoriated as a public health threat by the governor, so you can look forward to that as well. State Representative John Cabello, Republican from out Rockford Way. John, thanks for joining us. Appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.
Thanks. And he joined us on our turnkey.pro answer line.
This is the morning show more Chicago radio listeners are choosing. This is Chicago's Morning Answer on AM 560. The Answer.
Balance of nature. Changing the world, one life at a time.
I like the product very much. I wake up in the morning, I'm wide awake, and I'm raring to go. I'm almost 76, and